Okay, so we are live here with our Finance Friday Wealth Creation course. We are here with myself and none other than Nano Aquino. What's up, Nano?
Hey, what's going on, Jerry?
So we're going to be talking tonight about inflation. Okay, this is a topic that is kind of hot on everyone's minds right now. It's something that a lot of us are hearing about. You know, we see social media posts, news stories, all sorts of things. And I want to talk tonight. Nano's going to talk tonight about what we actually need to be thinking about and whether or not this is actually something that we should have our attention on. Now, before we dive into it, Nano, do you want to lay down the house rules real quick?
Of course. So a couple of house rules here. There's going to be a few different groups of people that are going to be attending the webinar this evening. Some of you are live, right? Some of you might be clients. Some of you might be just seeing us for the first time. And some of you might be kind of, okay, may have seen, a few of our webinars. They might be wondering, like trying to get more information about who we are, what we do, and if it is ultimately applicable to you. So those are the three different groups of people. So I'm going to be addressing all three of you because regardless of whatever group you are in, I want you to actually have a purpose for attending the webinar here today. So we're going on every single week for the past 4 years now, probably a little over 4 years now. We come to you, right, every Friday to talk about a subject. Now, if you think about this, it is Friday night, 10 p.m., at least on the East Coast. But who would be an individual in the right state of mind that it is going to be jumping on a webinar to learn about finances? The type of individual that wants to learn, grow, and improve, right? That is that kind of individual that we're looking for. So number one, if that is you, very welcome. You found your group, okay? Now, with that being said, now if you are this individual that you're either attending live or watching this later on, right? It's not anything wrong that if you're not watching this, at a recording. But point being is like, okay, I gotta know for myself why I'm doing this. So this is not going to be a Jerry thing that he's going to be speaking and then I'm just going to be absorbing. This is not going to be a Nano thing where I'm going to be speaking and you are going to be absorbing, right? So I actually have to put something in the game in order for me to get something out. So therefore, let me go ahead and fine tune my listening filters to make sure that whatever I'm going to be listening, I can actually put it into application, which is going to be the second rule here, the house rule that I'm going to be asking you, inviting you to do, which look for ways that you can actually apply this information. Now, as we go through this, right, depending on the subject, the thing it is going to term of finances is really going to come down to vocabulary and math. This is a type of thing here. Even Jerry posted something earlier this week that if we see a person who is wealthy, right, we cannot be hating on them. It is like the equivalent of me seeing a person who is healthy and hating on them just because they have abs. I'm like, I can go do the same thing. So point being is, if I see someone who is wealthy, who's winning with money, I need to find out what is it they're doing and like duplicate their actions. And it comes down to vocabulary and math, which also implies what? If that can be done, then it is a subject can be knowable, meaning I can actually learn, right? I actually have to put it aside, this filter, this listening filter that I may have a preconceived idea that the subject, it is too far-fetched or out of my reality. Because if that is me, it is going to be very basically impossible. It is the equivalent of me trying to go work out and say like having an ongoing postulate, an ongoing viewpoint that this is not going to work for me. Well, if this is going to be my viewpoint, then it's definitely not going to work, right? So let's have the viewpoint that this can actually be learned and look for ways to apply it. And the fourth rule here, it is going to be a producer, not a consumer, meaning if this is not for you, right? Not for you, like move right along. We don't allow negativity to be happening here. Like we actually want to be helping a person improve. If you have questions, ask them, right? It is better to ask a question. With that being said, if you're live on Zoom, we're having some technical issues, so you might have to use the Q&A feature here in order for you to drop your question, and we are going to be answering you, okay? And last thing here, it is share if this helps you. At the end of the day, to a degree or another, you and I are responsible for the condition that we are in as a society. And this is one of the things that Jerry has been doing this for many, many years, even at a point that I was a client, and then I saw, okay, I can actually learn from this guy, and I decided to increase my responsibility level to the point that, okay, let me go ahead and join the team so I can actually be one of the catalysts to be spreading this message. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn that back over to you, Jerry, so we can go ahead and kick it off the Friday night webinar.
Awesome. I also do want to introduce Griffin Henderson on our team. So Griffin is here in the Zoom with us. Griffin is our executive over field control and public contact. And so one of the things he likes to do is he likes to get in touch with people and help them become clients. So if you're watching tonight, you're not a client. One of our goals is for you to become one. That is a big intention of this webinar. If you've not got a copy of my book, Blueprints to Financial Freedom, okay, this is the big goal for you tonight, is if you haven't gotten a copy of this book, that you connect with Griffin and you get the book, okay? Right now you can get the paperback. It's $9.99. Basically, we're giving you the book for free. That's just the shipping. You can get the ebook for $2.99 as well. So if you get a message from Griffin, or if you leave a comment in the Q&A, ask Griffin to reach out to you, and he can connect with you there as well. So without further ado, we want to get into our topic, which is inflation, right? So, there's a lot of different definitions of inflation, a lot of different ways people look at it. The main thing people look at is this thing called CPI, right? Consumer Price Index, right? And I've talked about what this is before, but the CPI really is something that we have to look at and go, okay, is this actually a real number, right? And so what I want to do is I want to whiteboard this so you guys can kind of get some reality on what this actually looks like. So we have this thing called CPI. Okay, Consumer Price Index. And what this is, it is a basket of goods and services, right? And so there's kind of a preset, type of index, almost like a composite of things that people would buy that are going to go in this basket, right? Now, that all sounds fine and good, but this is basically like a set, like this. These are the main things we track for 330 million people. There are things that they don't track, right? And so when you look at the history of CPI, this actually has been changed 2 or 3 different times, right? The way that they track it, the things that they actually measure in CPI aren't the same as they used to be. And so this number today represents less and less of a reality of what people actually buy and what they transact and experience. For example, I think one of the ones that they took out is vehicles. They said, well, the price of a vehicle goes up because of technological advances. No, a vehicle's cheaper. It costs you less today to manufacture a vehicle because we have better technology. Right? It doesn't take as much manpower. A lot of it is, predetermined, preset versus having to use manual labor and people to do the entire thing. Right? So when you look at CPI, this is not actually a real figure. And so one of the things that I look at as a business person, as a finance person, is stats. Right? Neno, what is your first impression when you see a stat that doesn't look like it's legitimate?
How can I even trust the source? Like, what is the reason behind why they're putting makeup on the stat? Why, what's the reason, right? Because they're not just doing this for the sake of doing it, right? There's a reason behind, right? So if I just start connecting the dots, like why are they doing this, right? Which would indicate some kind of an ulterior motive that they're trying to either cover it up or paint a different picture, basically shift our attention to something else. Those would be some of the initial questions I'll probably be asking myself.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. So I want to go ahead and get the cat out of the bag. Real inflation is usually about 2 times what CPI is. Okay, and that means that we're starting this course tonight with the idea that, okay, CPI was reported at what? This month it was 9%. Okay, that means real inflation is 18, at least, right? And if you look around, that's true. Like if you go look at, the things you're purchasing, most of them have increased, probably more than 18. And it's not 18 across the board. Some are a lot more than 18. Some are a lot less. There's things that maybe didn't cause any price increases at all. But when you look at the ups and downs and you average the peaks and valleys, we can look and see, okay, that probably is about an 18% increase, right? Now, here's the thing that Nano and I want to talk about is this important to focus on? Right? Like, is this something that we all need to be thinking about? I see it all over social media, like inflation. Back in 2017, 2018, 2019, if you were watching my content and my information, I was telling you, hey, what we're doing is going to cause inflation. Okay, in 2020, I didn't mince words. I was like, what we're doing is going to cause inflation. You need to prepare now because it's going to get worse. A lot of people didn't. Right? We were riding high on, Bitcoin went up and the stock market went up and home prices went up. Yeah, those are the things that inflated first. Assets. We went into an asset bubble first. Now consumer goods are inflating. Right? And so inflation is this thing that, okay, definitely does impact us. So Nano and I'm not going to tell you, hey, inflation doesn't impact you, because it does. Your purchasing power went down. Right? And I think I want to start on that point. Nano, can you give everyone like a good, simple, true definition of inflation?
Yeah, right. So the inflation is going to be the devaluation of the currency. Let me see. I don't have a cup here, but it is equivalent of, let's just use this as an example, right? Like my water bottle. let's say that I need to have a X amount. Let's just pretend I'm using this for coffee, right? So let's say if I have enough coffee here, right, it is with the proper measurement, I'm going to, good. I need to put X amount of water, X amount of coffee in order for me to have the proper taste or the proper measurement in order for me to have a good cup of coffee. The moment that I start adding more water to the coffee, it is going to have, the coffee is going to lose its potency, is going to be diluted. It is the same thing that's basically happening when we hear the word inflation. Now we have more pieces of paper that are going into the currency, which means what? I'm able to buy less and less of it, right? Now, and whenever that's happening, guess what else happens? You and I, right, to a degree, okay, good. Are we trading our time for money? Meaning, am I trading my time? I'm putting work for pieces of paper in order for me to go ahead and be able to buy things.
Right. And that's exactly what it is. So when you think about, guys, like inflation, it doesn't mean like you're actually seeing like values increase. Right? A loaf of bread still does the same thing it did before. Gallon of milk still does the same thing it did before. Gallon of gas still does the same thing it did before, but it's the price that went up, is what Nano is saying. And it's not even that the price went up, is that the dollars buying it went down in value. They purchase less, therefore you need more of those dollars to buy the same things. Right? So that's what inflation really is. We've got to understand that. Now, here's the thing I want to go over next. I'm going to draw this out. Is when we look at, and I think I might have just fixed the chat, if you guys want to check out that. If not, we'll just keep using the Q&A feature. That's also cool. So if we look at this, there's three main things we have to be focused on at all times. Okay, we need to be able to earn. We need to be able to save. And we need to be able to invest. Okay, we call this the triangle of wealth. This is what it all comes down to. Do I do these three things, and how effectively and how efficiently do I do them? And we're also talking about in what speed and what quantity do we do them in, right? So we're looking at this. If there was not inflation at all, if it didn't exist, Nano, would I still need to do these things?
Absolutely.
Right, so if there's no inflation, I still need to earn. I still need to save. I still need to invest, right? Now, let's say that inflation occurs. Does that change the fact that I still need to do these things?
Nope. I just got to really make sure that I'm actually doing those. Otherwise, it's like going downstream.
Exactly. And so that's, guys, that's what we're talking about. Is a lot of times with inflation, what happens is we get caught up in the news stories. We get caught up in the headlines, and then we focus on, the news over here. We focus on social media over here, right? We focus on the negativity, and then we stop doing this. We're not earning as much anymore, right? Because we're not earning as much anymore. Now our savings rate went down, right? Because of inflation, now we're afraid. We're no longer investing. This is something we've paused, right? And so worse than inflation is what we're actually doing to ourselves, right? Like we can complain and be like, oh, it's 18%, and we're losing this much. Okay, yeah, but how much did you lose in income you didn't actually earn? The biggest cost to a household and to a business is the income they didn't earn that they could have earned, the potential, right? Potential to earn income is unlimited. So that means that it's unlimited loss. And if I focus on something that does not boost my income, I'm actually the reason why my statistic in this area would be down. It's my fault. It's not inflation's fault, right? I can show you people that this year, they made a income increase of greater than 18%, right? And they're fine. And I can show you people this year that didn't, and they're not fine, right? And so it doesn't matter that this is what's happening. It's okay, well, what am I going to do in relation to it? Okay, just so in the book, Nano, go ahead, Nano.
Yeah, I was going to say, just with that being said, right, whenever we take a look at the definition of the word economy, it literally means the management of the household, right? The management of the finance of the household. So the economy can be doing X, Y, and Z, but if I'm not transacting, right, if I'm not, how's the economy of my household doing, right? Am I earning enough? Which kind of is going back to what you're saying, right? If I'm now getting caught up with whatever's going on, sure. So there is a game that's being played. There are some rules, right? There's like such a reserve bank that to a degree or another, you and I are forced to play. We got to use the US currency. But up to what point, right, am I going to allow myself to be at the effect of what's going on? Number one, I got to look at, okay, is anyone actually winning in this game? So whenever I ask myself, is anyone winning at the game? I got to look for the statistics, individuals who are winning. meaning what have they produced, right? So if they have produced, if they're winning during the game, regardless of what's going on, could do the same thing. So, and now here's going to be the diversion of what my attention is going to be going to. I can either get caught up with the nonsense, or I'm going to shift my viewpoint to those who are winning, right? So I just want to piggyback on what you're saying there, Jerry, because it seems like very fitting with it, right? Like, okay, good, the economy, it's doing everything. What about what I'm doing? Because the economy could be booming and it could be doing bad at my house, right? Does that mean because the economy is doing good, does that mean I'm automatically doing good at my house if I'm earning, saving, and investing? Not really, right? So I gotta just make sure that I'm paying attention to the right things.
Yeah, and that's a good point. So I wrote down what Nano said here, right? So this is a good thing to look at is who is winning, right? And if you're trying to win, you can't hang out with losers. You can't listen to losers. Like the people that are whining and complaining about inflation, they're not winning. So don't read the Facebook post. Don't watch the news channel. Turn that off. That's not something that you do if you want to win. If you're a professional athlete, before the game, you don't go talk to people that just lost, right? Like you don't go talk to the people that didn't win. You talk to the people that did. You focus on what you're going to do. So who is winning? Identify those people. What are their stats? Okay. And I don't mean like what are their stats as far as like, oh, what's their income and all the reasons why we make them wrong for what they do. What are the stats below that? Like, what are they doing and producing to cause that kind of condition? Right. That's the thing we've got to look at. And then that translates into action. What are they actually doing? Okay. What are the actions that they take? And Nano hit it on the head. You can either do those things or you don't. It's a binary decision. I either I'm going to commit to doing the successful actions, or I'm going to make up reasons why they're wrong, they're bad, they're evil, and I'm not going to follow what they do. But is it really helping me? Okay. So as we're looking at this, right, it's got to be a thing where we decide, okay, inflation is something that, it's there, but it's also always been there. I was talking to someone today and they were like, hey, is inflation, when is inflation going to go away? When is the inflationary season going to end? And my answer was never. It's never going to go away. It's going to be a forever thing. It always has been. Ever since there's been currency, there's been inflation. Every single currency in the history of man has failed. And it always starts backed by something with value, right? Whether that's gold or silver or copper or whatever it might be. And it always ends up, like Nano's showing you the silver bar right now, it always ends up being reduced where you have less and less of that value backing it. And then eventually it becomes, all the way reduced where it's fiat, which is what we have today. It's backed by nothing. It's just valuable by government decree and the fact that you've got to pay your taxes in it. And if you don't, they're going to lock you in a cage and put a gun to your head, right? That's the reason why we use fiat currency. There's no actual value behind it. Right. So when we look at this, every single currency that's done that's gone fiat has failed. We're not special. We're not different. Right now, even in this instance, you can get into one of two things. Oh, the currency is going to fail. I should put my tinfoil hat on and start doing odd things with my finances and no longer doing what I just shared. Right. Earn, save, and invest. Yeah, the currency probably will crash. It always has. It always will. Doesn't matter what the currency is, it's what do you own? What are the assets you own? Because those are valuable regardless of the currency. So if the dollar fails, like every other currency ever has, whatever the new one is, you're going to have to earn in it, right? Whatever the new one is, you're going to have to save in it. Whatever the new one is, that's what your investments are going to be denominated in. So again, it goes back to, does this really change anything? No, it doesn't. So does it help me to focus on it? Not really. Go ahead, Nano.
I wanted to add to what you're saying there, right, Jerry? Because like you're just saying exactly what's going on. We got to earn, we got to save, we got to invest. Now, if I shift my viewpoint from this because I start getting caught up with the noise, what is something that I'm probably going to be doing? The unusual, right? When I look at this, I look at who is winning, and we see the stats, right? From every since like the 1% saving 40% of what they make. Regardless of what's going on, they're saving 40% of what they're making, right? Unless, right, then whenever things actually went into depression, they went into debt, right? So, which is a whole, was on purpose, right? A strategy there. But point being is like, if I'm not doing the basics, most likely I am doing something that is going to be unusual, trying to get to the ultimate goal. Now, going back to those earlier questions, who is winning? If they're winning, those actions that they're doing, it is providing the results that I'm looking for. Why? Because they have, right? Like they're winning. Like that's really the bottom line. So if I'm not doing what they're doing, that means I'm doing something else. If I'm doing something else, I'm going to actually get a different result, which is going to be unusual solution to the problem. So if they're like almost like a recipe, right? As it's not necessarily any rocket science. I got to earn, save, and invest. And as long as I can, and it's very boring, right? It's like, okay.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. It's boring, and most people can't handle boring.
Exactly, right. And this is what something that you mentioned to me as whenever I was a client, like, hey man, this is the boring plan. Hey, this is not the flashy thing. I gotta, if you are consistent, if you just do it, right, then eventually you're gonna get there. Now, what would be some, if I'm not doing the usual, I'm going to try to do what? The unusual. Now I'm gonna try to put my money on to get rich on Dogecoin or doing different things. And now I'm starting to play a game now because it sounds very nice. It gives me the potential upside where I can like, oh, maybe I can get rich riding on this. And then I can't tell you how many times whenever I'm talking to a person, if they have money invested on something that is going to give them the potential upside to quote unquote be rich, just at least give them the idea. It's without even me asking, the majority of them already justify saying, hey, but it's okay if I lose that money. Like that's just like, yeah, I know I can lose money and it's okay without me even asking, which implies that, okay, it's like, why are you even doing that, right? So it's like, again, trying to look for an unusual solution to a problem, because it's like, why don't I just stick with earn, save, and invest?
Yeah, and that's what I want to go over here, guys, is if we have a problem that's 18% inflation rate, real inflation rate, let's look at what would usual and unusual solutions be. Right? Nano and I see tons of them, and we talk to people all the time. And so, when I'm looking at, okay, inflation happened, that means my dollars are buying 18% less on average, right? How do I solve that? Okay, well, for me, the usual solution was, well, I need more dollars. My dollars buy 18% less, then I need at least 18% more dollars if I want to buy the same things. Okay, where does that come from? I've either got to earn, I've got to save, or I've got to invest. Right now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, investing is not where you beat inflation, right? If we have an 18% inflation rate and I go and I'm like, okay, well, I need to go find 18% investments. Number one, good luck. Number two, if you find them, they're going to be very high risk. So this is what Nano was saying. This is the number one place that people go wrong, is they're like, oh, I need to go buy crypto because I can make, 6 billion% in 4 years. And then they lose all their money in 1 month. Right? Or I need to go buy a home because right now homes are doubling and tripling in value. Okay, good. But what about when they don't? Right? You can't put $1 million into a home and think you're going to beat inflation because of it. Right? So this is the number one area that people lose because they're taking this risk and they're like, well, I don't want to increase my income. I don't want to change my living behaviors. I would rather just put the capital at risk and try and get 18% or better. Right? Now, here's the problem with this. There's a fine line between logic and dislogic with this. I've got 18%. Let's say I could find an 18% investment, right? So let's say I could find this and I wasn't going to lose any money. I'm only earning 18% on the dollars I put in it. So it comes back to how many dollars do I have? If inflation is 18% and I only have $10,000, me earning 18% on $10,000 is not going to help me, right? Because my entire income lost 18% in purchasing power. My entire savings lost 18% in purchasing power. So for me to beat inflation through investing, I would literally have to put in enough money, enough principal value that it equates to an 18% gain that offsets my entire income and my entire savings. Right? So now you're talking probably a lot more than 18% to get the job done there. And so you're not going to beat inflation through investing. Where are you going to beat inflation? You're going to beat inflation by getting more of the dollars. Right? Now, here's the thing. Because of inflation, the definition of this is there are more dollars to get. So if the solution is to get more of them, well, good thing there are more of them. The money supply increased. There's more currency out there. It should be easier for me to get in an inflationary environment. Right? So when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at, okay, there's an 18% increase in the inflation rate, which means that there's an increase in the currency supply of at least that, probably more. There's more money for me to go get. And so that means that I've got to what? I've got to put in more time. I've got to put in more effort. I've got to put in more creativity. I've got to do less Netflix. I've got to do less weekends off. Right? If I really want to improve my finances, I need to be willing to go through seasons of, okay, I'm going to put in the extra hours, right? Or I'm going to take another job, or I'm going to learn how to sell, or I'm going to learn some kind of a skill set that increases my income. Right? With our guys right now, we're pushing on our targets like crazy, right? We're having them producing and doing things they've never done before, because that's the way you beat inflation. That's the way that you beat this thing, right? Nano, kind of in your experience just with this, like, do you think about inflation day to day?
Not at all. I mean, it's almost like you would be a distraction, right? It's always something counter to, like, okay, I know I need to produce, right? If I'm going to be having my attention on that, it's like, okay, good. How's that going to help me or not, right? And even worse yet, right? Whenever, from time to time, I talk with clients, let's say they have an amount of money, right? Let's say a few $100,000, and now they're trying, hey, yeah, now, like, I'm going to put it towards an investment, and they want to, no, because I don't want to work anymore. And this goes to the point where Jerry's saying, like, investment, it is only one corner of the triangle, right? It is only going to give me X amount of dollars. So let's say that even if my investment is paying me, let's say $5,000 or 3,000, 4,000 to allow me to cover my lifestyle. If I'm not continually saving to actually continue reinvesting, it is going, if the currency continues to go down, right, going down in value, that is going to be a problem, right? So I actually, like, whenever I look at, like, me trying to actually invest or get to the ultimate goal, which would be what? Freedom. That's the game, right? So whenever I have that in mind, I need to understand that those three things need to be in place, ongoing. And if I try to cut one of the corners, which is the most powerful one, as Jerry was saying, right? Like, I can, let's say if I have 10 grand or 20 or 50 or 100 that goes towards investment, I could have the most strong corner on this is the earning one. Number one, there's no cap, right? Number two, there's lots of pieces of paper going around. I just got to become more skilled, to grab them. I got to have more focus, right? It goes back to what? Attention. What is my attention going to? Now, I could say, nah, make, people wrong, right? No, this is too hard. I'm like, okay, you might be, right? I was sharing a quote today with Jerry. It's like, okay, if I'm going to be focusing on the difficulties, they're really going to be real for me. It's kind of almost going to what this is talking about. If I'm going to be focusing on inflation versus focusing on, let me go earn income, which one am I going to get? Right? So, like, I really need to, okay, have my attention units correct, and my, like, in my purpose and my focus on the right things. And the right things, I hate to sound redundant, but it comes down to earn, save, and invest.
Yeah, and this is a good point you brought up, guys. With income, there's no cap, right? This is the only part of the triangle that has no cap, right? So if we look at saving, what's the most someone could save? Well, they're capped at 100% of what they earn, right? They can't save more than they have. So this has a cap. Investing, what's the cap on investing? Well, you can't invest more than you have, right? And you can only invest and increase returns to a certain threshold before you start bringing in excessive risk and it outweighs the returns. So there's also a cap on investing, right? The earning has no cap. So I'm looking at this, like, the reason that someone doesn't earn income, it comes down to two things. They don't want to, or they don't know how. Okay, I would say maybe a third one. They don't have the ability to. They're disabled. They have some sort of a handicap that disallows them to earn income. So other than that, if you're able to earn income and you're not earning more, it's because you don't want to or you don't know how to. Those are the only two reasons. There's not another reason out there, right? And so if I don't know how to, that's why you become a client. That's why you get the book. That's why you start working with this. That's why you start actually following a systematic approach to learning how, right? Financial literacy is not something we're taught in school. It's not something that you're taught growing up. It's not something you're taught, even in college, they're not teaching you real financial literacy. They're teaching you curriculum that was written by banks in Wall Street to train you to give them more money. That's not financial literacy. That's you literally becoming a consumer. Like you're being turned into, an indoctrinated consumer. Financial literacy is, like Neno said, what are the wealthy actually doing? And I've got to learn that. I've got to use that. And I've got to grow my income with that. Go ahead, Neno.
Yeah, and just to nail the head on this, right, from what you're saying. So today I was talking with a person, right, who was found you on TikTok, and I was trying to help him out, and he was asking me questions, right, like as he was a little hesitant, like he really liked the idea of the sacred account and this and that. Okay, good, this really good, makes sense. And I'm trying to understand what's the guy's mindset, because if I'm trying to provide a person with information, but they have a set of belief or ideas that it is counter to exactly what the welfare is doing, to what Jerry just mentioned it. If we have been marketed to, if we have been taught our entire lives that we need to have a 401k, that we need to have different financial products, that is the way to go, and it continues to not give me the result that I want, first of all, I need to become educated first to understand what's going on. Now,
and actually, real quick, Nano, I would say I need to become self-aware enough to even be able to see that. Right? That's a self-awareness problem. If I can't see the lack of results from the actions that I take, that's an actual self-awareness problem. This means there's something wrong with me. I can't, when I look at the picture, I don't see all the colors. I only see the ones I want to see. Right? So I've got to change my self-awareness and actually be willing to see I might be wrong and I might not be doing something that works. And I need to be willing to actually take a look and see that.
Yeah. So with that being said, right, I was simply asking the guy the question, okay, good. Right. So he's like, oh, yeah, I don't know. Like I knew this was I had a meeting with the guy that I was going to do a demonstration with him about the sacred account. And I knew, like, look, and I told him, I was very blunt. I could show you the roadmap to heaven. But if you believe something that this is not even real, you're not going to take it. Right. So let's just take a look at an observation to a couple of the things to look at it. Like, is it actually real? Is it actually happening? Right. So I just went over with a couple of historical facts with this individual. I was like, good. Is there such a thing as a Federal Reserve Bank? Okay, good. Are they printing money? Yes. Did the Great Depression happen, 1920s, 1930s? Like, yes. Do you know who is responsible for that? So just basically asking this individual questions for him, like, and he started connecting the dots. Like, right now you have your money in your 401k, good. Like, what is truly the only guarantee that you have there? Right, regardless of performance, do you have to pay fees? It's like, yes, okay, good. How do you make sense of doing that? Right? Because you're trying right here. I'm trying to show you an alternative. And nevertheless, here you have your money on a place that's like, regardless of what's going on, up or down, you're paying fees. How do you justify doing that? Right? So point being just like giving this individual enough information for him to even realize, okay, maybe the information that I have been operating with is not true. Right? Or let me put it in a different perspective. Maybe the information, it is true, because it is true to the degree that gives those that put that information together to give the result they're looking for, which is they want to have your money. Right? So versus those who are actually winning, meaning they're wealthy. So going back also to a point that you were making earlier, right, Jerry? Like, in order to make money, I gotta not want, or I do not know now how, or I'm disabled. Right? Now, whenever I became a client with Jerry, I was making decent money, but I was looking for a little bit more. Right? And when I say a little bit more, I don't mean just money. I mean, I want to have enough cause, be responsible enough whenever I jump into a communication cycle with an individual. I have the ability to be able to, number one, know what I'm talking about, communicate properly, and help this person. It up to the point that whenever years ago, right, being a client, I started to see that, okay, good, 20, 30 years down the road, like if I'm working a labor job, I am going to be capped at what I'm doing, and I got to come up with something else, because even if I have enough for myself, I'm not going to have enough to provide for my family, meaning my parents and my extended family. And even like, I want to be able to donate to church. Let's say that I'm at church and I'm a good person, and then like most of the people here that I've talked to, they are good individuals, right? And I want to, like, they ask, hey, we need help to basically put a school together for the kids who don't have opportunities or whatever. And I want to help, and I cannot. I don't know about you, but that literally, like, I cannot have that. So I was like, okay, good. I know how to make X amount of income, but I need to know how to produce more than just for myself. And something else here that kind of helped shift my viewpoint on this is, if I'm poor, I'm selfish. This level of activity and push that it is required in order for me to outpace what the inflation is doing, requires a very selfless type of behavior that I need to have enough focus. I need to have enough tenacity in order to point out the things that Jerry mentioned. I got to cut some of the things that I got to be like, no going out on the weekend so much, right? No so much Netflix. I got to have this focus. And I got to have, going back to the very first rule, the house rule here that we talk about, I got to have a purpose. If I don't have a purpose, it becomes very easy for me to be distracted and make those things wrong because I don't have them.
Yeah, and this goes back to, I just wrote this here, but why do you want more money, right? There's going to be like, okay, so I see the inflation rate, it's 18%. We know we need to increase income. Some people don't, right? Because again, they either don't know how to or they don't want to. So if I'm somebody that's saying I want to, well, why? Right? Like, what's your purpose? What's your motivation? This one's huge, right? So if you're saying, and even this is even a question with just wealth, why do you want wealth? Why do you want financial freedom? If you're down here and you're saying, because I don't like my job, don't like work, okay, this isn't a good reason. Like if you were working with me, like if I was working with clients directly, I don't do this anymore, but if I was, and you were like, hey, I want help with my finances, and I'm like, why? And you're like, because I don't like working. I'm not going to help you do that. That's not a noble reason for you to have wealth. You're not helping anybody. Like literally, you're lazy, so you want a shortcut. That's what that means, right? So that's a low motivation reason to want more money. We have low motivation, right? And then we've got high motivation up here. And if we look at this kind of like a scale, we could see at the very top, it's going to look a lot different. We could go even up here and say, okay, well, what's another reason why someone might want more money, right? Well, because, life is hard and they want more money to make life easier. Okay, I can tell you life doesn't get easy just because you have money, right? There's other things that come up. There's that phrase, more money, more problems. So if you're looking for life to be easier, that's not a good enough reason, right? A good enough reason isn't even inflation, right? Why do you want more money? Oh, because there's inflation rate is 18%. Okay, we're saying you're going to have to work. You're going to have to put in some extra evening hours. You're going to have to put in the weekends. You're going to have to do some extra studying. That's not a good enough reason for you to do those things, right? Like you see somebody like, if they're exercising, like they have a reason why. Like they're not like, it's not like, hey, why are you exercising and working out so hard? Oh, because the scale said 240. Like, no, there's a reason why that matters. Oh, because I'm unhealthy. I have kids. I want to make sure I live longer. I want to look good for, this person I'm trying to, maybe score a date with, whatever it is. They've got a reason to do it. It's not just a number, right? As a business owner, anytime I have a staff member that all they care about is a number, to me, that's a giant concern, right? Like that's the most disloyal person you'll ever meet, because they'll do anything just because it's the number. They're not going to focus on the purpose. They're not going to focus on the quality. So if I'm looking at this, I'm just saying, okay, inflation's 18%. That's why I need to increase my income. Why does that matter? Because there's other people that aren't gonna. Inflation's 18%. And there's a group of people out there that aren't going to do anything about it. And that's going to just be life for them. So what makes you different? What makes you someone that wants to? Right. So at the top here, you would have, I want to increase my income maybe so that I can help people. Right. I want financial freedom for my family. Right. I want to be able to maybe start a business that impacts lots of lives. Right. Like there's a lot of high motivation reasons to go earn more income. And if I don't have high motivation reasons to earn income, I'm going to have high motivation reasons not to. And those are called excuses. Right? I excuse myself. I'm saying, no, this doesn't apply to me. I don't need to go earn more income because of this reason. I have this story that I tell myself. Okay. And because I have this reason in this story that I tell myself, it doesn't apply to me anymore because I've given myself an excuse. I'm excused from the table. I can get up and leave. Everyone else needs to eat this meal, not me. I'm fine. Right? This goes back to what Neno said. That's selfish. Right? In relation to my motivations, that's selfish. For Neno, he says, for him being poor would be selfish. Why? Because he wants to help people. He's saying, if I don't earn more income, if I don't grow my wealth, I am not doing what I want to do, which is helping people. And that is selfish in my viewpoint. Now, if I'm down here and my only thing I care about is, well, I don't want to work anymore because I'm a lazy bum and I hate my job and I probably don't earn my paychecks. They probably way overpay me at my job. And so I don't like working anymore. Well, you're not going to feel that way. You're going to be like, no, it's not selfish to be poor because you're not doing anything that's great in the first place. Right? What's the real reason behind it? And if you have that real reason behind it, you're not going to care when inflation happens. Like, I don't think about it at all. I can't tell you one day this year where I've been like, oh, inflation's here, it impacts me, I better be worried. No, I wake up the next day, and because my purpose is so strong, I'm going to increase my income way more than 18%. Right? We're talking, triple, quadruple digits kind of stuff, because my purpose is that strong. Right? So I would say, like, if you're worried about inflation, your purpose isn't strong enough. Your game isn't big enough. You're not playing with big enough, barriers and problems and obstacles for you to be focused on what really matters. If your biggest obstacle is 18%, right? Like, you need to increase the game. You need to find something that makes you more focused, so that 18% becomes small. Right? Like, what's a bigger problem you could solve than 18%? Who can you help? What can you do? How can you grow? Like, those are all the questions you should be asking. And then it goes back to, well, I've got to invest in myself. I've got to earn, I've got to save, I've got to put money into real assets, like we keep talking about. Right? Which leads us into saving. One of the things that's touted, Nano, you hear this, savers are losers, especially during inflation time. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, who is saying that, right? What's the reason behind? Sometimes it could be, I mean, you and I know who coined that phrase, right? Savers are losers, but at the end of the day, like, what's the reason behind it? And it could be, an influencer, right, that's saying that, but also, is it just different people that are regurgitating what's being said? And again, I look at before, and I just look from a breakdown, right, of things that need to be accomplished in order for me to actually get the investment. Because again, what am I trying to accomplish? It goes back to this. I'm trying to accomplish this right here, right? Financial freedom. In order to do that, I need to have enough income that is going to be coming from my investments. Before I am going to be investing, one of the things I need to do is actually be saving. I'm going to earn. How am I going to go from the earning to the investing if I don't save first? Like, it's just a very simple question. Now, and that's really the thing that's really going to come down to me having the proper knowledge in order to do that. So if I understand, okay, good, inflation is happening, it is not a good thing. What could I be doing instead? And this is almost like a diversion that, like, I really have to confront something when it comes to this. Well, number one, I got to look at the current scene, the current scenario of what's going on. If the things are happening, right, that I observe, like the dollar is being printed nonstop, and I continue to save my money in the bank, knowing it's costing me 9, 10, 15, 18% in the devaluation of the dollar. Why do I continue? How do I justify doing that? And I got to bring myself enough of a confront to realize that I need to be doing something different. Let's say that I don't know exactly what I'm going to be investing. Could I move my currency to a store of value? Again, mimicking what the wealthy have done. And this is not necessarily like an opinion kind of a thing, like they either did something or they did not. And whenever they did something, it created an effect, a result. And I got to ask myself the question, what is it that did, and what result did it provide? So that's, bring it up to your point here where you're saying, Jerry, about if we keeping attention on inflation or not.
Yeah, and on this, I want to actually read you guys something real quick from the books. Again, this is Blueprint to Financial Freedom. If you've not gotten a copy of this, this is my book. I wrote this in 2020 because this is something that I've literally never, like, I've been in the financial industry 10 years. I've never seen this before. Of here's all of the right things, here's all of the right tools, but also here's the right sequence. Right? If you're building a house, that's great if you've got all the right materials. If you don't know what order to put them in, you can't build a house. It doesn't matter how many tools you have. It doesn't matter, who you bought them from, or, who your buddy is. If you don't know the sequence, the blueprint to building a home, none of your tools will work. None of the materials will go together, right? So if you haven't gotten a copy of this book, I want you to reach out to Nano and Griffin in the Q&A feature. If you're on Facebook, you can also go to jerryfetta.com/B2F. I think it's B2F promo. Is that right, Nano? For the link?
That's right. jerryfetta.com, letter B, number 2, letter F, promo.
Good. So I want to read real quick from the book. So this says, so with money, I can be floating down the river and oblivious to the fact that I'm a consumer and losing money to the producers of the world. Or I can realize this and decide to work hard to fight it, trading time and energy for money. right? So this is the first point. You fight this by trading time and energy for money. This is not a passive game, right? Like we're not in a position to be in a passive game. This is an active game. So I'm trading time for money to fight this. Or I can realize it and decide to use my ingenuity to get me up the river with less effort, being an investor or an entrepreneur. So I can actively fight it, or I can look for creativity. Like either I'm going to have to put in more force, or I'm going to have to put in more creativity and finesse. Ideally, if I can do both, that's going to help me quite a bit. But think about this. You're going down the river, you're trying to paddle, right? You can either paddle harder because the current sped up at 18%, or you can look at, okay, I'm going to keep paddling. Like I'm not going to not paddle, but could I build a motor? Could I find, an oar? Could I find something that's going to help me as a tool? Okay, these are the three main classes of economic awareness and understanding. My challenge to you is to understand money well enough to use it. It is already kinetic. So the only question is, are you a producer or a consumer? Kinetic means it's moving, right? Like money is always moving. And so whether it's moving up or down, it doesn't matter. 18% inflation is movement of money, right? So if it's moving and I'm not moving as well, then I'm just going to float down the river with it. If it's moving, like I need to be moving either with it or against it, depending on what it is I'm trying to do. In this case, you've got to swim against it. Okay. Another truth about money is that it is just an idea backed by confidence used as a medium of exchange. I earn money with my ideas. You do too. Think about this. If I'm trying to increase my income, that starts with my ideas. Before you had a job, you had an idea to get a job. Before you were an entrepreneur, you had an idea to sell a product or a service. Before you became a service professional, you had an idea to become a service professional. Like it starts with an idea. The more ideas that I have, the more creative I am, the more money I can make. So I earn money with my ideas. You do too. When I decide to become a producer, keyword there is decide. I decide to become a producer. I can use my ideas to earn income. My idea can be to trade time and labor. So again, that's a regular job. It can be to distribute a product or a service, which would be sales. It can be to invent something valuable, or it can be to organize people, products, and systems in a way that I make money as an investor or as a business owner. But it's all based on the idea. The higher quality the idea, the more potential money I can earn with it, and usually the less physical effort. So this is what I'm telling you guys, right? If I'm wanting to increase my income, I first have to have an idea. What's my idea? Because the idea that I'm having now gets me the income that I have now. If I don't improve myself, I don't improve my ideas, therefore I don't improve my income. Right? How much time am I putting on this? Like I'm not asking like theoretically, I'm saying like in your life, how much time do you put on improving your quality of thinking? You can come up with better ideas to earn more income. When's the last time you did that? Okay, you got to do this every day. Like you have to wake up every day and be like, okay, cool. How can I figure out how to be more valuable? Right? The lower quality the idea, the lower quality the solution. Who's ever had a bad idea that didn't work out? Neno, you probably have. I have too, right?
Yeah, a few times, yeah.
Like Nano said in the beginning, unusual solutions. Do you know what unusual solutions begin with? Unusual ideas, right? Like I'm trying to solve a problem and I don't have a good enough idea. So I come up with something weird and I try and implement that instead, and it turns out bad, right? So if I'm looking at this and you're like, Jerry, I get it, but you're a business owner, you're an investor, I'm working at a job, I'm trading time for money, I don't have more hours, then you need better ideas. You either need harder work or better ideas. You're either going to have to put in the evenings and the weekends and do whatever you need to do to increase the volume of work output that you do. And there's nothing wrong with that, guys. I'm working 12-hour days right now. Probably some days much longer than that. Nano is as well. We don't complain about it because it's our purpose. It's what we would prefer to do. Right. But if I'm complaining about it, I'm like, well, I don't want to work more. I don't want to put in more hours. I want to, have less, I'm probably not in love with what I do. And I probably don't see the correlation between my ideas and my current state of existence. And B, if I want to get out of that, then I need better ideas. I need an idea different than stay at the same job and just work more hours. Right? I need to, like it says in the book, become an entrepreneur, become a salesperson, become a business owner, become an investor, become an inventor, or increase my skill set at the current job so I can start doing stuff I like instead. Neno, you look like you had something to say there.
Correct. So with everything that you're saying right now, so this is what Jerry was saying. If you think about it, for those that have been following us for a few years, right? This is exactly what I did. This very thing here that he mentioned. It's like, okay, I'm making enough money in this job. Some ideas are already in place. I can go ahead and just implement. I don't need to come up with them, right? Example right here in the book. I don't need to come up with an unusual solution to where can I save my money to put it to invest. Very good. But at the same time, that, okay, this is not what I was doing at the time. This is not necessarily very much in alignment with my purpose. I want to be able to get substantial amount of money so I can help more people. And what I'm doing, I do not want to do this through this current vehicle that I'm doing. But I absolutely. Question that Jerry asked me years ago was, number one, is it ethical what you're doing? Number two, can you make enough money? Meaning, can you scale this thing out? Like, okay, good, sure. And then number three is like, is the right leadership in place? He had asked me, is it scalable? Is it ethical? And have the right leadership in place? Those are the four questions. When I looked at it, I was like, okay, I can make money, but I want to scale this thing out. And also the right leadership is not in place, right? I had a small business that I used to contract myself with a bigger company. And it's just like, okay, I'm making this money, but this is not for me, kind of a thing. So point being is I had to come up with a different thing. And I went through that route, right? For the past couple of years, first I realized I got to learn how to communicate. Now it's up to the point that instead of being somebody watching, right? I'm like delivering the webinar here along with Jerry, right? So to kind of go along with this, some of this stuff, it will be, I'm going to be actively trying to come up with new ideas in order to improve myself. Some of the other stuff, I can just duplicate what's already been done. Some of the stuff, right? The wheel, it's already in place. Like I could just duplicate what the wealthy has been doing for the past couple of 100 years. I don't need to have any kind of like new ideas when it comes to that. How about a new ideas? How about I do what they're doing instead of doing what the Wall Street has been marketing to me my entire life?
That's a good point. And I actually want to look up this word idea, because I think when we think idea, we think we have to come up with something no one's ever thought about before, right? So an idea, any conception existing in the mind as a result of mental understanding, awareness, or activity. So if I have mental understanding or awareness or activity, that's going to be a concept I have, an idea, right? It doesn't mean it has to be new, right? Like think about how long have people been around, just in general, like thousands of years at least, right? So there's been a lot of ideas. I don't need to come up with a new one all the time. I'm the kind of person, I don't do new ideas. Okay, I don't like them. I like things that I already know are going to work. Right? I don't have time for new ideas. I don't have time to be experimental. So what Neno's saying, this is why I wrote the book. Okay. I was, as a financial advisor, as a licensed financial advisor working for Dave Ramsey, I was tired of the same ideas because I knew they weren't helping people. Right? Like if you've heard my story, guys, my mom was my first client. She died from cancer at age 60. That's the year she was supposed to be able to retire. Right? I didn't get that promise delivered to her because I was using the retail financial world of, oh, just put money away till you're 60. Right? What if you don't turn 60? What if you turn 60 and that's it? Right? And so for me, I was sick of that idea. I was like, this is not a good idea. It didn't work. Like I just watched it with my mom not work. So what's the new idea? And instead of experimenting, at the time, there wasn't cryptocurrency, but instead of experimenting with cryptocurrency, let me see what happens with this. Right? Instead of trying to learn how to flip homes like some of my buddies were doing, instead of, whatever the odd solution would be, I just looked at, okay, what Neno said at the very beginning of the webinar, who is winning? Okay. The people that are winning are called the top 1%. They've been winning for a very long time. So who is winning? And then what's their statistics? What are they producing? So I start looking, well, where do they invest? What do they do with their income? Where do they save? How do they grow? And I start seeing all their statistics. And then I start reducing that down into the actions. Well, what is it that they actually do? Okay. And that's what I came up with here, because you're going to see so much out there, especially in the world of TikTok and Instagram and Reels and YouTube on what the wealthy do. Okay. Well, that's all great, but do they actually do it? Right? Like I can tell you one thing, they're not out there buying Bitcoin right now. Elon just sold 75% of his Bitcoin. Like he was pumping and dumping on you guys again. Keep telling you about Elon. Stay away from the guy. Right? But you look at the actual wealthy, like look at the people that have built generational wealth that's been around for a long time. They do the same things. They use life insurance. The number one owner and purchaser of life insurance, whole life insurance, is banks, right? They use gold. The number one owner of gold is central banks. They do lending. The number one lenders in the world are banks, right? They do foreign currency. The number one traders of foreign currency are banks. Like there's not a coincidence here. They're doing the same things over and over and over. They've been doing it generation for generation for generation. We don't have to refigure this out, guys. It's there. And so that's the purpose of the book. So again, if you've not purchased this, if you've not become a client yet, we've got a couple minutes left. I want you to send Nano a message in the chat. He can get you set up with the link. You can also reach out to Griffin in the chat as well and order the book. Again, that's jerryfetta.com/B2F promo. The letter B, the number 2, the letter F, the word promo. Okay, jerryfetta.com/B2F promo. And grab the book, read it. If it doesn't make sense, never talk to us again. Right? Like if it's something you like, this doesn't make any sense, good, that's fine. You're entitled to that, right? But if it's like, hey, this makes sense, there's 2 things you could do. You could do it all by yourself, because I laid everything out in the book to where you could do it all by yourself. Okay, I was a do-it-yourselfer at first too. I couldn't afford to pay someone. I didn't know if I wanted to. So I would just like, get the book, get the info, and I'm figure it out myself, right? All of that's there. Or you can reach out to us and say, hey, can you walk me through this? And our team will do that. Okay. Neno, is there anything you want to wrap up with before we close out?
So I really got to come down to a few things, right? Once I look at the information, I got to see it for myself. Is it actually true? And if it is true, if this is something that, okay, good. Once I look at the data, right? I really got to get out of the fence. Like, if I'm in the middle of a fence, I get, because from time to time, like seeing people, and it's where they get information, right? But they're paralyzed, right? Not knowing what to do. Like, okay, it is the fear of going into this other round. The wealthy have been doing it. Like, they either become paralyzed or they don't take action. Like, it's really, I could be the biggest problem, even worse than inflation, because I could have the correct idea, I come across the right idea. And how do I know that? Because it is giving me a specific result. If I come across the right idea, but I don't have the courage to take action, like, why? Then like it's almost like, hey, here's the recipe. Like, if you want to get fit, example, right? Okay, I'm going to eat less than what I'm going to be burn more than what I eat, right? In order for me to be fit. I mean, it's that simple. Like, so when it comes to this, I look at the information. Either makes sense or it doesn't. If it makes sense, let me take some action. I gotta quit being on the fence. And instead of me being the biggest hurdle, how about I just get that idea, right, that needs to be there, take action. And this is exactly what I do here with clients. And I also understand it's a lot of information, which is one of the reasons why we tend to be doing this on an ongoing basis to our clients, to provide the data for people, because sometimes it can be a lot of information. But here's the first action step: get the book. Let's go ahead and take a look at if everything like makes sense, like what Jerry said. If it doesn't make sense, never talk to us again. But if it does make sense, let's get on a phone call. Let's take one step. Let's take another step, and so on and so forth. That would be what I have to say here at the end of a call.
Awesome. So guys, if we started this webinar posing the question, inflation, is it a danger or a distraction? And, it's a danger, but it's been a danger forever. And if it's a danger that's constantly always there, it's always ever been there, is it really danger? Or is it kind of just the normal condition of life? Right? Gravity, you could say, is danger too. None of us are surprised by it, right? Wetting your pants out is danger as well. If you don't know you're supposed to urinate, you're going to wet your pants. That's dangerous. You know it's going to happen, so you go to the bathroom, right? Inflation, it's going to happen. If you're watching this, guys, it's happened forever. Every single currency ever has gone through it. It's not new. It's not unique. There's been worse years than what we have now. So you shouldn't be surprised that it happens. And therefore, the danger is actually in the distraction. Being distracted by inflation is the danger. Right? Focusing on the number instead of the result, instead of the action, instead of growing, instead of purposes. Because again, it comes down to, like, for me, it's more dangerous. I'm more afraid of not achieving my goals than I am of inflation, because my goals are that much bigger. Right? And so we've all got to have the same mindsets. So let me just check really quick and see if there's any questions that have come up. Again, if you guys have questions, our chat is still not working. We'll get that figured out by next week, but you can use the Q&A feature in Zoom. I don't see any questions. Let me pop on Facebook really quick too. And guys, again, get the book. Go to jerryfetta.com/B2F promo. Get the book if you haven't already. Again, jerryfetta.com/B2F promo, Blueprint to Financial Freedom. Let me just check out our Facebook. I don't see any questions on Facebook either. Good, guys. So we're going to wrap up for tonight. We will be back on a couple of the webinars tomorrow afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern time. I'm doing a free personal development webinar. We talked today about changing ideas, and I'm going to go over how you can best do that. On Monday, Nano has a webinar. Nano, what are you talking about this Monday?
So Monday, it is going to be the last book call on the book, The Legend of the Merchant and the Monk. We're actually going to be talking about the 12 principles that the wealthy operate. So it's funny, right? So here's the principle is going to be a code of behavior that they're going to be abiding by, which means I need to be thinking exactly how they think. Again, this is what the book's being laid out, right? And the story is going to be this wealthy man who's passing on the idea to his grandson, so they can continue doing like, hey, this is what I did. Here's the principles, the thinking behind it that got me to where I'm at. Here, I want to pass this on to you. And then he just goes over that the story of the book. And that can be applied in either ministry or a business, regardless of what that is. So again, having the right set of ideas in order to accomplish the things that we want, which in this case would be financial freedom.
Awesome, guys. That's it for tonight. We will be back again next Friday, same time. Again, if you haven't gotten the book, don't waste any time. Go do that now. Otherwise, have a terrific weekend. We'll talk to you next time.